asked to make a video on mastering chord progression speed. Now, I'm going to have to make an assumption on this one and assume this person means how can you practice getting your chord progressions up to a certain speed, or just improving on your speed with chord progressions, period. So there's a few things to think about. One thing I want to mention though, like when it comes to mastering anything on your instrument or anything in general, look, the truth is you will never master anything. You won't. If you've mastered something, you have reached absolute perfection and there's nothing you can do to get better, because that's it. You've reached that limit. You've mastered whatever it is. And so, you know, you can't master chord progression speeds. You can't master the fretboard. You can't master scales. You can't master solos. I see things like this promoted, you know, gimmicky sales things quite often. Like, master the fretboard with these 4 easy tricks. It's like, no. You could learn the fretboard, and maybe you could learn a lot with 4 steps, but you know, you're not going to master it. We can always improve. We can always get better at anything that we're working on. So there's never an end point to where you can't get better. You can always get better. So anyway, keep that in mind. I invite you to keep that in mind when you're learning your instrument. Mastering will never happen. You will just always get better and better and better. Things will get easier, but yeah, there's no mastering. So, speeding up chord progressions. Well, let's see. First thing, it's just like anything else. As I've preached several times on this channel, metronome. Metronome, metronome, metronome. You take whatever it is you're working on. Whether you use this for chord progressions, right? So maybe you're going, just playing the A minor chord 4 times, and you're playing the C chord 4 times, and you want to speed that up. You put your metronome on 60 beats per minute, and if you're new, I would start just by aiming to hit the chord every time the metronome clicks. And then you switch to the C chord, and same thing, every time the metronome clicks, you follow the chords. So I'm going to tap my foot on a hard surface because, well, it's just easier to do right now. So hopefully that's loud enough. So that's our metronome. So I don't know what tempo this is. Let's pretend it's 60. So you aim to hit your chords when it's beeping. And then once you play it correctly, just one time through, bump the metronome up by 5 beats a minute. And you keep doing that. Every time you play it correctly, bump the metronome up by 5 beats a minute. So nice, small, slow increments. That's going to help you speed it up. And it goes for anything that you do. If you gradually speed up your metronome with whatever you're practicing, that will get you faster in the shortest amount of time possible. Absolutely true. I have never seen it fail. Never. Let's see. The other thing that happens with chord progressions a lot is sometimes, like let's say going from this G chord over to an F, there's quite a bit of movement that happens going from the G chord to the F. I mean, whoops, that F. There are no anchor fingers. And an anchor finger is like when you play the A minor chord, you can leave your middle and first finger down and just move your ring finger. That means your index and your middle finger are anchor fingers because they're anchored to the fretboard. You don't have to move it. So it makes it a little easier to play those 2 chords. But going between the G and the F, there's a lot more movement. So what do you do if you can't, let's say you have the metronome going and you at 60 beats a minute and there's just no way you can strum this chord 4 times and then jump into the F, hit that 4 times and be in time. So what you can do, still have the metronome going, 60 beats a minute, and you're going to hit the chord on that first click, right? Then you use the next 3 clicks or next 3 beats to get into that next chord shape. So you don't have to let the chord ring out all 4 times and then at the last second jump into the chord. What you do is you hit the chord, and immediately start getting into that chord shape, so by the time you strum again, you're there, and then go back to that next chord shape. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and so on. So doing that gives you a lot of time to get ready for that chord. So I would start off by giving yourself 4 beats in order to go from one chord to the next. So you play the chord on beat 1, and then on beats 2, 3, and 4, you're getting your hand over to that next chord shape. And then once you can go back and forth between that a couple times, bump the metronome up by 5 beats a minute, and do it again. So this way, you give yourself quite a bit of time to go from one chord to the next, but the more you speed up the metronome, the less time that you have to get from one chord shape to the next. So again, it's just all about training your hands by gradually increasing the metronome speed, nice and slow. And in case you haven't seen videos on metronome stuff we've done before, and you're wondering why only 5 beats a minute, because a lot of people will go up by like 10 or 20 beats per minute, or they'll start at something like 80 beats per minute, and like, okay, now I'm going to try 100 beats or 120 beats per minute. It is way too big of an increase to go from 80 to 120. 10 beats per minute sometimes can be okay, but for the most part, especially when you're learning and this is new stuff for you, no more than 5 beats per minute. Less is fine. If you want to do 1 beat per minute, great, but that's a very slow process. So 5, I think, is like the sweet spot. It's not too fast, not too slow of an increase, and it's when you increase too high, going like 10, 20 beats per minute or more, you're not giving your hands enough time to learn what's happening. Your brain's not able to pick up on it fast enough. So repeating it over and over and over again at a slow pace and gradually increasing it to where you can't really tell the difference, because trust me, going between 60 to 65 beats per minute, there is no way you can truly tell a difference with that when you're first starting out, or even if you're advanced. I mean, it's such a small detail, small increment of the time right there, or not time, of speed, a small increment of speed. It's so small, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. That's why you need to use the metronome in order to gradually increase your speed, because you don't just play a riff and then speed it up yourself. You're going to go too fast. I guarantee you will always go too fast, because there's no way you can tell the difference between 100 beats a minute and 105 beats per minute just by using your head. You've got to have the metronome telling you how fast to go. So, I mean, that's really it on how to speed up chord progressions. Just metronome. So just to recap, we got those 2 ideas. Whatever the chord progression is, you maybe start at 60 beats per minute, aim to strum the chord every time it clicks, and then just gradually play whatever progression is you're working on. Once you play through the progression as many times as you're working on, or like say if it's like a 2 times repeat, right? Bump the metronome up by 5 beats per minute, do it again, keep doing that until you can't keep up. And then the other thing is, if you're working on and going between 2 chords that you're having a hard time jumping into, let's say the G and the F, so you hit the first chord, and then on beat number 1 you hit that first chord. On beats 2, 3, and 4, you're rushing over to get into that next chord shape. So don't let the chord ring out the entire time. Just hit the chord and jump into that next shape as soon as you can, and then keep bumping that up by 5 beats per minute. The other thing you can do with that one is eventually you can try switching on every 3 beats instead of 4, and then switching to every 2 beats. And then, you know, once you can start doing that, you get that pretty fast. When you slow down, you should be able to switch between that 1 beat a lot easier. And that goes for any chords. It doesn't have to be the G and the F. That's just an example. So if you have any questions about this, please let me know. If there is a specific video lesson you'd like me to do, please let me know about that too. And thank you for watching.